Hey guys, welcome to video 2. If you haven't watched the video over the CRAP test yet and how to discern if a resource is reliable or unreliable, go to that video first because I'm going to be referencing that video and that CRAP test as I talk through our new system of taking notes. Do not be afraid of the idea of using note cards for research. Most of my students find this to be very, very, very easy, very clear cut and well put together. But if you hate it, I'm only going to ask you to try it this week. And if you have a different system that works for you, you can go back to that next week. All I'm going to say is while we're researching, you are going to be the most organized version of yourself, and some of you are going to be the most organized you've ever been to keep track of all your sources and all your information. And so if that's not naturally you, or if you really like systems, then this system, I think, is the absolute best and easiest and simplest and helps you write an essay more than any other research system I've used. And what makes it so easy is it's so simple. So, note cards. You guys bought a bunch at the beginning of the year. We are going to use them, and they're no longer going to be used for quizzers, at least not for the next couple of weeks. First, what goes on your note card? Well, you're going to put your resource on your note card, what source you found. This is going to be after you've determined through the CRAP test if it's reliable or not. Don't do this for a not reliable source. Once you figure out that it's reliable, then you're going to grab a bunch of note cards and you're going to put what resource you used on one card and then any information you think can be helpful to you. Very important, make sure all of the information on the individual note card is closely related to what you're taught to itself. So you are not going to have broad note cards about schizophrenia. You're going to have note cards about hallucinations. You're going to have note cards about paranoia. You're going to have note cards about your symptoms. It's not going to be very, very broad. We're going to get really specific on each note card. And the purpose of that is because why we use note cards rather than just a piece of notebook paper with all different quotes and all different information is when you start outlining and brainstorming for your actual research paper, you can physically move your note cards around to see what goes where in your paper. So basically, by using the note card system and sitting out and laying them all out, you can move them around to essentially write your paper. The only thing that's missing is the quotes from the book, and you already have done those on your character diagnosis sheet. So you already have half of your essay written through that character diagnosis sheet, and those of you that are concerned about the page number or the page limit and how are you going to get 4 to 8 pages, you've already written 3, and that's only from the book. We still don't have your words, and we definitely don't have any research yet. So the page limit will come very easily, and the note cards are going to help you organize. So what's on these note cards? First, you're going to have 2 different types. The first kind is a bibliography card, and that's just MLA full citation of your source. Again, do not write a bibliography note card until you've determined the source is reliable. If you do all of this first and then you read your source, you've just wasted a bunch of your time if the source doesn't work out. Once you've determined it works out, you're going to do a full MLA citation of your source. I have papers on that. On Canvas, I have documents that show how do you cite a website, how do you cite an article, how do you cite a journal entry, and I'll make another video. It's not attached right now, but I'll make another video that will walk you through what does MLA format look like, or at least what does it look like for my Blanche Dubois note cards, and you can see the process through there. I don't mind you using EasyBib or a website similar. The only thing that I will need you to do if you use those resources is triple check it with the resources I put on Canvas. A lot of time, EasyBib will say there's no author, there's no publisher, there's no copyright date, and you just scroll to the bottom of your webpage and you find all of that. I don't know how it misses it, but if you don't double check, you will be wrong. And if you have incorrectly cited information, that's when you can get into trouble with plagiarism or sloppiness or lack of authority. So, first, bibliography card. You need 3 sources minimum for this paper, excluding your book. Meaning you need 3 sources about mental illness, and then you also will cite your book, Native Son, Color Purple, Sun Also Rises, whichever your book is. So you'll have 4 sources total or more if you choose to have more. Each source that you find, you will have 1 bibliography card for that. What you're going to do with that bibliography card is then put a number at the top. So let's say you have information from WebMD, then you get information from a site like this, which is the National Institute of Health, and then you get information from Mayo Clinic, which is a source I have pulled up right here, and those are my 3 sources: WebMD, Mayo Clinic, and National Institute of Health. Each one of those will get a different bibliography card just dedicated to that, and then I put a number on each one of those. WebMD is number 1, National Institute of Health is number 2, and Mayo Clinic is number 3. Done with my bibliography cards. What you do by creating a bibliography card is you just wrote your works cited page. All you have to do is put them in alphabetical order and type them up. Super, super easy. Next, and you will have so many more of these ones, are your information cards. This is, like the name says, where the information you find goes. So on the front of the card, you're going to write that source number. You don't need to write the MLA format of the source because you've already done it and you already numbered it 1. So anytime I use any information from WebMD, that card is going to have a number 1 in the top right-hand corner. Then on the front of the card, you're going to write a heading, a keyword or a phrase: hallucination, loneliness, paranoia, whatever keyword you found. On the back of that note card, write the summary, quote, or paraphrase that connects to your topic or header. So basically, your topics are probably going to be your symptoms, and then the information is you defining that symptom, showing examples of that symptom, how does that symptom show itself in patients, and then in your essay, you're going to then connect it to your character. On none of these note cards will you write anything about your book unless you are citing an article that specifically diagnoses your character, which that is not what many of you will find or what you will be looking at. What you're going to be do is you're looking at medical articles that talk about the symptoms, explain the symptoms, and define the symptoms, and then you are going to use your words to connect that. So on your note card, you would do what you would write in a paper. Summary, quote, paraphrase about the information you find. Make a really, really, really strong effort to use your own words when you take notes. On these cards, you can use quotes and enclose direct quotations. Make sure if you do that, you put super, super big, bold quotation marks around it so you remind yourself that this is a quote. And make sure you put in parentheses what page it's on or what website. Just remind yourself of all of that because usually you will forget later. If it doesn't have quotes around it, then you are safe to assume that these are my words. And I'm strongly recommending that you make a powerful effort to use your own words because that's usually the hardest part when we write. It's really easy to quote other people. It's hard to come up with our own thoughts. So write them down on note cards as you think of them. Before you go on to new note card, double check and see that you've written the source number. So if it's WebMD, you put a 1 on the top right-hand corner. If it's National Institute of Health, you put a 2, or whatever your bibliography card says, that's what you're going to put on the top of the card that you're using. all the ones will be together, all the twos will be together, and due next Tuesday is 10 cards from one source. Or let me rephrase that. I want to see at least one source, one bibliography card done, and then 9 information cards. If you have 2 bibliography cards and 8 information cards, that's fine. I want to see 10 total note cards on Tuesday. I'm going to give you 10 points for that. I'm going to check that your note cards are accurate, that your information is useful to you. I'm going to check that your MLA format is okay. I want to make sure you're starting this process off right. Ideally, you finish your 10 note cards at the end of class today and you walk into the long weekend with no homework. But, of course, whatever you don't finish is homework. So, recap, and I have examples on my desk, and as you guys are working, I am also writing my own note cards for Blanche Dubois, and I'm doing my own research on Blanche. I want to make sure I'm doing this entire paper right next to you, step by step with you, so I always have examples. Bibliography card for every single source that you use. Information cards about the information that you find from that source. Each source has a number, each source has a bibliography card, and each source has 5 to 50 information cards. Again, Tuesday, 10 are due. That should be really easy. Those 10 cards can include your own facts that you found in your own words, direct quotes, and paraphrasing. How do you use the note cards once you've created them all? I'll talk to you about that next week, so don't worry about that right now. Just get your information on note cards. And how many sources do you need? Ignore that part. I should have edited it out. What we are going to do is you're going to have 4 total sources. We'll change this on your sheet. Your book counts as 1, and then you are going to have 3 website/articles diagnosing your character. We're changing this from last year. Makes it a little bit easy for you. So you're going to have 4 sources total. 1 is your book, 3 websites from your source. I have a rubric attached to the back of this sheet just so you can see what I'm going to be grading. I said that 10 note cards are due at the end of class today. If you don't get there, I'm happy to take it on Tuesday, but ideally you finish. And then you guys can read this for what I'm grading for, 10 points total. For the next 3 weeks, you're going to be giving me sets of 10 note cards each and 10 points for each one. So they should be very, very easy points, and you're getting all your information done. This is a ton of information. Some of you, it makes perfect sense already. Some of you are struggling to grasp it. If this is confusing to you, I want you to watch the next video where I'm talking through in a single example of how I test a source for if it's reliable using the CRAP test. I just skim through a resource and show you what that process looks like for me. And then I will talk you through how I use my note cards and what it looks like to use note cards in the research process. If this is making sense, or you just need to see a quick example and you're ready to go, on my desk I have example note cards for my Blanche Dubois. Take a look at them. They're always going to be there for you to look at and to use as examples, and then you guys just get started and jump in with your own research. You will notice right now that you are leaving your character diagnosis sheet a little bit behind. Use the symptoms that you've listed, but we're going to put our book to the side and start focusing on what doctors are saying about these disorders. In a week or 2, we're going to start combining those 2 things together again. So right now, just focus on that back of the character diagnosis sheet, and we will combine them again in a couple weeks. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Stay quiet while people are still testing, but in general, I am here to help, and go at whatever pace you are most comfortable with.